Let's bring on Eliot Shorr-Parks, who, of course, is with us, sponsored by Cozy Jewelers. Step up to the 50. That's color, cut, clarity, carrot, and cozy to talk some Eagles schedule. Eliot, how are we doing today?
You know, if only there was a way to avoid weather impacting sports. You know, you would just think one day we'll figure out.
I walked right into this. I walked
if
right into it.
If only there was a way, you know. Maybe one day, maybe one day.
I mean, there is a way, but no one but you wants that everywhere.
Yes.
I mean,
just throw a roof on Citizens Bank Park. We could all enjoy the day better today, right? We'll be out in the outfield, no rain. I think it's the move.
Today we would enjoy it better, but in general, it would take away from things. All right, we could fight about that another day. Eliot, we have some leaks here. In fact, as I look at it, 6 leaks. So we knew about a few of these, or most of these, before this morning. So we know Dallas as the opener. We found out about the Green Bay game Monday night in Week 10, Bears on Black Friday here in Philadelphia, and the Washington game at Washington on December 20th, a Saturday. But a couple more emerged today, Eliot. A Thursday night football game at the Giants, Week 6, and then the big one at the Chiefs, Week 2. Eliot, your takeaway on what we know so far?
Yeah, really surprised that Chiefs game is in Week 2. I would thought that would have been later in the year. It's a tough opening. I mean, it was not the opener, but Cowboys and then Chiefs, not a super easy start to the schedule. I will say the one benefit to getting it in Week 2 is that they play Thursday night, and then they won't play again until obviously the following Sunday. The Chiefs opened the season in Brazil. The Eagles know well how tough that can be. So the Chiefs will fly back from Brazil essentially Saturday, while the Eagles have already rested for 2 days heading into that game. So I think in terms of the schedule, you probably give the advantage to the Eagles there. And then Week 6 against the Giants, you know, I don't think the Giants are going to be a very good team. You look at what's come out from their schedule so far. Their first 5 or 6 games are absolutely brutal. So it's definitely possible by Week 6 the Giants are already focused on 2026. So I think, you know, where these games are falling, so far I don't see anything where you say the Eagles are really getting, screwed there.
I agree with you, and I had the first thought you did, Eliot, with the Chiefs, that it's a good spot for it because the Eagles will play Thursday and then get the extra prep time. I didn't realize until you said it, though, the Chiefs are playing the Brazil game, so they also get a little extra time. Now, you made that trip last year, so that's not easy to come back off of the Brazil trip, but they'll play Friday, right? Eagles Thursday, Friday, so they both kind of get extra rest before the game.
Yeah, the Eagles' rest is the Eagles are at home on Thursday, and the Chiefs are in Brazil on Friday. Now, the Eagles do have to travel to Kansas City. And, look, going to Kansas City, definitely not an easy game, but the Eagles won there in 2023. I think it's safe to say we all remember how badly they beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. So, clearly, the Chiefs will have this game circled. They'll want to have revenge for that Super Bowl loss, but the difference in talent between those two teams is still pretty big, right? And I think me and you, well, I guess a lot of us talked about it leading up to the Super Bowl. Like, the new great rivalry in sports is Jalen Hurts versus Patrick Mahomes. So, to get that in Week 2, again, surprised it's not prime time, but that rivalry playing out again will certainly be fun to watch.
Eliot, as you look at this and the schedule, I mean, the one thing that's standing out to me before we know everything else, you mentioned like where the tough ones are. There's not many not tough ones, right? There's a couple Giants games. We'll see what the Raiders are. Typically not good, although they improved at quarterback and they improved at head coach, so maybe they're a little more decent and they have Genty from the draft. But as I'm waiting, and we're all waiting for the full schedule tonight, I don't imagine there's going to be many pockets where there's like 3 or 4 layups in a row. That's not what the schedule's going to be this year.
Yeah, so every year I try to do a mock schedule where I put out what I think would be the ideal schedule for the Eagles. And most years you can piece together, mock schedules. Come on.
It is great. I love when you do that.
Who's not doing it? That's the new rage. But every year when I do it, you can put together 2-3 weeks where it's like, okay, here is a stretch where if they need it, they have a few easy ones. Or, okay, let's put this easy game after a stretch of potentially 2 hard games. There's just not really that possibility with this year's schedule. And again, who knows how these teams will actually play out. A game that looks tough in Week 10 right now could, be an easy one by the time we actually get to previewing it. But if you look at the teams on their schedules, again, you mentioned the Raiders are a potential team that probably won't be very good. The Giants, the 2 games against them. You could argue the Cowboys late in the year, but the Cowboys Week 1 is certainly not an easy game for the Eagles. So in 2023, we saw like the gauntlet of a schedule can really impact the season. And I think by the time we see this full schedule tonight, there might be 2 or 3 stretches that we look at and go, that's a really tough one.
You know, Elliot, I'm curious because I don't think I got a chance to ask you, but how did you feel about the first game of the season against the Dallas Cowboys and how that one played out? Do you think they could have they did us dirty there? I mean, how do you feel about that?
Well, I will say in terms of an exciting matchup, they could have done better. I think the Lions would have been more exciting. You could even talk me into the Rams being more exciting. The Eagles and Cowboys just don't really play great games anymore. It feels like for one reason or another, Dak's not playing, Jalen's not playing, the Cowboys aren't good enough. Like, there just has been a long time since these two teams have played like a truly great game. So getting juiced up for that one, look, it's the first game of the season. Obviously, the banner going out in front of the Cowboys will certainly make Eagles fans happy. But in terms of the matchup, I don't think it's a great matchup. The Eagles beat the Cowboys by like 60 combined points last year in their two matchups. So Eagles-Cowboys, always exciting, but I would have preferred a better matchup.
Eliot, as you look forward now to the full schedule, we'll get at it tonight at 8 o'clock. I'm sure there'll be a few more leaks before. Which game now, because we know the Chiefs, which is the one left that we don't have yet that you're most interested to see where it is and kind of what's around it? So the big ones would be Detroit.
Yeah, Detroit.
The Rams, the other Washington game, which would be here, and, of course, I think they go to Buffalo this year. If you had to pick one that you're most intrigued just to see where it is, what game is it?
Yeah, so when I look at these games on like where they land, often what I'll hope for in a schedule if you're the Eagles is, all right, so let's take Minnesota. Minnesota is going to be starting J.J. McCarthy. You'd prefer to get them early in the year. So looking at this schedule, as of now, we don't know who they play in weeks 3, 4, and 5. I think Minnesota early on with a rookie quarterback would be advantageous. I would say the same thing for a team like Detroit on where that will land. They have 2 new coordinators, so essentially a whole new coaching staff, or at least a major overhaul. So you want them early as well, when maybe they're still kind of putting it together. A team like Buffalo, I prefer them late in the year. You don't want to hope for injury, but ultimately the later in the year you play, the less likely it is potentially Josh Allen's on the field. And I know playing in Buffalo late in the season can be cold, obviously, and there's a risk of snow. Again, an avoidable problem. But I do think that with that, like the Eagles are used to playing in the snow. We saw that. So I think you'd prefer Buffalo late in the year, but Detroit and Minnesota, I think you'd want them early on.
How about this? I just found this out, Hugh. Set your clock and your calendar and your alarms tonight. Eliot's going to be live tonight on WIP's YouTube and Twitter at 8 p.m. reacting live to the reveal of the schedule. Eliot, this is exciting news.
Well, especially after a day hanging out with you guys in the outfield, it'll certainly be exciting to go live at 8 o'clock. So, it'll be good. Look, the schedule release day is one of the most important days on the NFL calendar. The schedule can absolutely dictate how a season goes. So this is a huge day today for the Eagles' chances of repeating.
All right, Eliot, I know we're keeping this mostly to the Eagles stuff because the schedule day, but I want to give you the floor on our show because I've been seeing it. I know you're an Ace Bailey guy with the NBA draft. Sixers have the 3rd pick. Eliot, I don't see it. I'm not an Ace Bailey guy. I think he strikes me way more of a Kyle Kuzma, like a scorer on a bad team, than a star, but I know you love him. So, Eliot, I'm sure we'll debate this a lot between now and draft night, but tell me why you love Ace Bailey so much.
Yeah, so I think if there's anything you should have learned from talking about the Eagles so much and their draft success is that you draft traits, right? Especially early on. You want to draft traits, and you want to draft guys with big upsides. So you look at some of the other picks that are available. Trey Johnson, I like Trey Johnson. He's a bit, he's not the 6'7", 6'8" that Ace Bailey is. Ace Bailey just has special qualities. When you look at him, he's tall, he's long, he's a good shooter, not a great shooter, but he's a good shooter that can develop. He's the youngest of all the guys that are likely going to go in that top 5, excluding Cooper Flagg, who he might be younger than him, but I didn't look up his age. Regardless, if you look at Ace Bailey, I see Kevin Durant, and I will take a chance on a player. When the Sixers need a franchise-altering player, you got to swing big, and Ace Bailey is a big swing, but I think he could be a big home run.
He's 6'8". You heard him. You say
but he was listed at 6'10".
Yeah, he was listed at 6'10".
Yeah, well, here's the thing. They measured him without his shoes on. Like, I don't get why they do that. They're not going to play the game barefoot.
That's like your true height.
But he's not wearing platforms. He's not.
I get that, but he's also not going to play barefoot. So what's the point of measuring him without shoes?
I mean, it makes sense to him. It makes sense to me.
Yeah, well, because they want to make sure, because everyone has different kinds of shoes.
They want
what, just in case he's going to play barefoot one day, they want to make sure? Like, he's not going to wear platforms, you're right. So just put shoes on him. So when they say he's 6'10" with long arms,
he's not
I get that. But when he plays in a game, he probably will be closer to 6'10" because of his shoes.
Well, they're all taller because of their shoes.
Agreed. I agree. So why measure him barefoot? Like, why does it matter that he's 6'7" and a half?
Because all shoes are not the same. So then they'll come in the combine, and one guy will have bigger shoes than the other, and then it's all off.
Well, what do you think? One pair of shoes gives you 3 inches, and the other gives you 1?
I don't know. Maybe they're going to wear platforms. All right, Elliot, we'll have more time to do this before the draft. Elliot, appreciate you hopping on, and we'll see you here in a little bit. And, of course, tonight on the WIP YouTube and Twitter reacting to the schedule. Thank you, Elliot.
Yep, sounds good. Talk to you guys.
All right, there he goes. Eliot Shorr-Parks there. Big Ace Bailey fan there.